What's up, guys? My name is Rob, and this is Rob on the Rod Podcast, a running podcast for all healthy lifestyles. And today we have somebody that we already know. He's a fun friend of mine. Paul, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing great, man. Good, great. Great to see that beautiful smile of yours, man. It's great to see you again.
Thank you. Ditto.
Man, just to let you guys know, this is a very special episode. It's not an actual like regular episode, so it doesn't have an episode number. Paul was with us back a while back, but he ran 3 of the major marathons in 2 months. So we definitely have to have him. We want to have a recap. It's about to be December, and we want to, have a little talk with him about his experience in all 3 marathons. I actually ran one with him, not with him because he's way too fast for me, but in the same event. Let's just say it that way. Paul, so you started. Which one was your first major marathon? Berlin.
For September, yes, Berlin.
Berlin, and what did you think about Berlin? Like, what was the one thing that you liked about it?
Man, it's hard to narrow it down to one thing because I would say Berlin, out of the 5 majors I've done, is by far my favorite.
Okay.
It was very, very special. So, I guess if you could say one thing, just all the energy. There was like so much energy there.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
But I guess, we should have started from the beginning. Before we start Berlin, tell us your way to Berlin, because I know for a fact you did a couple stops, the Paul Lloyd way, let's call it. How did your trip started from Austin to Berlin?
Yeah, for sure. So, unfortunately, when you do so many majors, sometimes you don't always plan everything as far in advance as you should, because you're paying for one trip and you don't want to pay for them all the same time. So there's a little bit of procrastination with that. When I looked at it, the best thing I could find was through British Airways.
Okay.
It was a little bit of adventure. So one of my brothers, none of my family has been with me to any of the majors until Berlin. So my brother Daryl decided he was going to go with me, and he procrastinated more than me. He booked his flight maybe like 2 weeks before. I'm like,
wow.
Are you even going to go? Well, he found a great deal and it was actually cheaper than my flight. And when he booked his flight, I realized I messed up on my flight. And so I booked through British Airways.
Yeah.
And I booked on their website from Austin to Berlin. So the thing I did not catch is that it wasn't from Austin to London Heathrow. It was Austin to London City.
Oh, wow.
So that made it a little bit more interesting. So I had a direct flight from Austin to Heathrow, which was amazing.
Yeah.
So once I got to Heathrow, I had to jump on a train to go from Heathrow to London City.
Okay.
And me being a Texas boy, we're not as familiar with trains. And they say it's easy, but no matter, even my niece says it's easy. Oh, it's easy. Just follow Google. You know what? I still struggle.
Me too.
I struggled. And so I was all worried. And it's like, so with that, I'm thinking, okay, there's 3 hours between my flights. So I'm like, if I check a bag, the odds of me getting my stuff in time, I felt were slim. So I was like, I'm just going to do carry on only. So I just got a big backpack, carried everything on, took the train. I was not confident in myself. So I ended up getting off on one of the trains early. The only thing that saved me to get the right directions is there's in London and Heathrow, there's a lot of police officers there. So I stopped one of the police officers to ask for directions. He loved my Texas accent, which I don't think mine's that strong, but it was strong enough to tell between, Texas and London. He's like, oh, I love your accent. So he actually pulls out his personal phone and looks at navigation and everything. It took about, a good solid 5 minutes to help me. He's like, actually, you're on the right one. Hop back on, get off on this one. So I did that. No problems. But I was very stressed at the moment. It went a lot smoother than I thought, but
Yeah.
jumping from going from London Heathrow to London City
Yeah.
was a little bit of a challenge, but it worked out well. The flight my brother did,
Uh-huh.
he left the same day I did, except he left 2 hours early. So that
Okay.
day, I dropped him off at the airport
Hmm.
in Austin,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to go back home because of traffic. So me being me, it's like, okay, what am I going to do with a couple hours of time? So of course, I go to my favorite state park, McKinney Falls State Park,
Okay.
go for a hike over there because it's less than 10 minutes from the airport. So I went and hiked and then went back to the airport.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so he flew through, I'm going to mess up the pronunciation of this, Lufthansa Airlines.
Lufthansa? Yeah.
Lufthansa. What? You're making it sound Spanish, like Lufthansa. That's
I
like,
I, I, th I think you probably are right. My dad calls it Lufthansa, so that's how I call it.
so I'm just teasing you, but yeah. So but anyways, that airlines he flew from Austin all the way to Frankfurt, which I was like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
I
Yeah.
was like, that's better.
Yeah.
But he had a 10-hour layover there.
Oh, okay. That's why he got it so cheap. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So then he flew from Frankfurt to Berlin. So at the end of the day, I was happy with mine.
Hmm.
And the flight from London City was only from London City to Berlin
Yeah.
was only an hour and a half, so it wasn't bad.
Oh, not bad at all. Yeah.
Yeah. The only downside is we had thunderstorms, and so our flight was delayed. And for the first time ever, I cursed on a flight. I will say I cursed on a flight. We got into some severe turbulence for just a short time, not a long time,
Yeah.
but we had one of those famous drops that everybody talks about that all of a sudden you just have a
You
sudden
feel it.
drop.
Yeah. 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 I've been
And
there.
I said, "Oh, and I'll leave it at that." But I cursed out loud, very loud, and there's a lot of people screaming. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
thankfully enough, it was just that one drop, and then
Yeah.
after that, it was great. But whew, that got me good. That got me good, and then
Yeah.
got there that night, and luckily enough, so for people that, and this is for everybody, so people that travel, I'm a firm big believer on Hyatt's. So hopefully you don't have to do a disclaimer or anything there, but
No, no, you're good.
I'm a firm believer in Hyatt. So I have the Hyatt credit card.
Nice.
So majority of my time, people ask, "Hey, Paul, how can you travel all the time?" It's like, yeah, the Hyatt credit card. I charge everything on that card.
Yeah.
Well, 5 of 7 of my nights in Berlin were free at the
Oh,
Hyatt.
wow.
And
Wow.
then the other two,
Hmm.
my brother has a Hyatt credit card, so those other 2 nights were on his points. So all the Hyatt nights were free, and it was within a mile of the start line.
Wow, wow. So what you're trying to say, next time I'm planning a race that you're going, I'm just gonna go shack in your room
Yes,
and get free nights. That's
yes.
awesome.
I would offer you the Chevron Marathon. However, you're already in Houston, so that won't do you any good. But if you wanted to get away from the home, I got you. I'm
No,
staying at the Hyatt
and it's
Regency
funny that you say
downtown.
that because what was it last year or the year before? We actually all decided that we were going to do that.
Uh-huh.
Go stay closer to the marathon because yeah, the drive is a little long for us. Well, not too long. It's early in the morning, but it's still a 35-40 minute
Yes,
drive sometimes, you know. So we've thought about that. So who knows? Maybe I'll take you up on that. But it's crazy, man. Crazy,
yes,
crazy your route that you had to take and but now you're in Berlin. Now let's talk about the race. So
sure.
the crowd support, yes, I agree with you. It was amazing. I loved it. It kind of had that New York City vibe, just in a smaller scope because you ran New York City, which we'll get there. And it's just amazing. The crowds were very supportive. I think there was very little times, at least for me, to that it was lonely, where it's just you and the runners. Definitely, I agree with you with that crowd support. What other things that you like while you were running this
Yes.
race?
So cool thing is I didn't get to catch up with you, and there's a
Yeah.
few other people I didn't get to catch up with, but I did catch up with 3 of my friends from San Antonio.
Okay.
And I got to catch up with 2 of my friends from Boston.
Nice.
So I got to kind of catch up with everybody. I got to wave hello from a distance at one of my friends that's here from Austin. So it was kind of a
Nice.
hey, how you doing? And that was pretty much, actually, that was during the 5K. That was during the 5K, not during the
Okay.
marathon. But it's kind of cool to say, hey, I see you. Hello, how you doing? And that was it, unfortunately. But it was
Yeah.
still very nice. But it was kind of interesting because kind of taking a step back from that, September was a pretty epic month for me. So I got back from my summer volunteer gig in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And the week before I came back, there was a marathon in Kauai. So I was like, you know
Mhm.
what? I did that last year. I'm right by there. I can just do it instead of doing it in a week's time. I can do it in 2 days' time. So went and did that. And then suddenly, when I did that one, I was like, why did I do this one? Because I always remember that's the hardest one I've ever done. And I did
Yeah.
it again. And this time
Yeah.
it was even harder. So I did that September 1st.
Yeah.
Um, and then last year I had the opportunity to pace the Air Force Marathon.
Yeah. I
Um,
remember. Yeah.
so some of my buddies talked me into doing it again. So right when I got
I don't
back,
think it takes a lot to convince you to run a
no,
marathon.
like we talked about on the last call, friends
Yeah.
peer pressure, and I'm like, okay, I'm
Hmm.
a sucker every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so I got back September 10th, just a week after I did the Quiet Marathon, and
Hmm.
then less than a week, I flew out to Columbus, Ohio, to pace the Air Force Marathon again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I did that one, and that was a 4 hour pace. So it was more, for me, that was more of like a just conversational run for
Yeah.
me. And so with that one, it was great. But then that was a week before Berlin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went in the mindset of, you know what, I'm just going to have fun
Hmm.
whatever happens. All I want to do is sub 4 hours.
Yeah.
Generally, most of my marathons are between, 3:10, 3:20.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to have fun. This is a special place. One thing that made it very special to me was Berlin. My dad was actually stationed in Germany
Oh,
back
wow.
in 1959. And you probably can't see it. There's a license plate on the wall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Probably hard
Yeah.
to see. But it says U.S. Armed Forces 1959, and
Yeah.
then to the side a little bit, there's his army hat.
Oh, wow. That's
And
awesome.
then on there, you can't see it, but I've got his dog tags on my wall right there.
That's awesome.
Um,
That's awesome.
but Berlin was always somewhere I wanted to go, just because he was stationed in Germany back in
Of course.
1959. I wanted to take him when he was alive, but unfortunately, when the time was right, it wasn't right for
Yeah.
him, just because he was getting older and really
Yeah.
hard to move around. But I wanted to really go to Berlin. Like, even before I ran marathons, I
Hmm.
wanted to go to Berlin just because of my dad being stationed there. And I thought it would be really cool.
Yeah.
So that had some sentiment to it that it made it very special.
Hmm.
And my big thing, especially since I'd already done 2 marathons in the month, the
Yeah.
last thing I wanted to do is not finish. So, no, and even though I say that on a serious note, it's like people may not believe it, but at every marathon, I have self doubt. Every marathon, I have self doubt. I'm like, what if I don't finish? What if I don't finish?
Yeah.
Every marathon.
Yeah,
And
no,
so,
and it's normal, man. It's very
yeah.
normal. I had self-doubt, and I think mine was bigger than any other marathon I've done, because when you live in the United States and let's say you go to, New York or
Mhm.
Boston or Chicago to do a marathon, right? If you don't finish or you get hurt or something, you're like, oh, okay, I mean, it happens. But to me, fly so long, go all the way to the other side of the world and then not to finish, that really was doing a number on me. And I would tell my fiance, what if I don't finish? Like, this trip's just not gonna be worth it, you
Right.
know? And it went through my head until, like, even at night, the night before, it was going and bothering me so much, but I think the self-doubt is something very common, especially running a big race like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, I get you 100%, man.
Yeah. And I remembered you and Hillary talking about that on a previous podcast. Y'all were talking
Hmm.
about that as far
Hmm.
as that situation.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like, just ironically enough, doing a marathon the week before, it
Hmm.
sounds crazy, but it just feels like it kind of helped me clear my head and just like okay, I have no expectation, just to finish. Just
Yeah.
have fun.
Mm-hmm.
My philosophy is the what if strategy. My
Yeah.
what if is IFF. Did I influence one person? Did I have fun? And did I
Mm.
finish? And if
Yeah.
I can answer all that, it's a good marathon.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
for sure.
that's my what if strategy. Um, with that said, I slept pretty good that night. And then when I woke up in the morning, I felt really good. But I got a text message from a friend, one of my friends I befriended in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd gotten her like a Kauai Marathon hoodie. And
Okay.
she had sent me a photo that morning of her wearing the hoodie saying good luck. And
Oh,
I don't know
that's
why, but
awesome.
for some strange reason, it hit me like it actually brought a tear to my eye. And
That's awesome.
it was like extra self motivation. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to do any PRs, but I'm going to kick butt and have fun and just enjoy the ride. And
Yeah.
ride but run, but and so something about like when I got that text message with that photo and
Mm-hmm.
even just good luck, it's something just hit right with me that is like, you know what, I'm gonna have an awesome marathon. And so
Yeah.
got there, met up with Bill Marsh, one of my buddies,
Mm-hmm.
and then Marie and Chris Ricondo before the marathon. So we walked to the start line and got there. And then, temperatures were just, man, that's my ideal temperature. You couldn't ask for any
Amazing.
better.
Yeah.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
so I get there and, I start running. I just feel great. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I'm looking down and I'm doing like the first, 7, 8 miles. I'm doing a good average 7-minute pace the whole time.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, man, this is going really well. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll get, I was like, I'm shooting for 4 hours, but I'll be able to hit I feel pretty confident. My soft goal is
Mm-hmm.
always, I'm sorry, my hard goal is always 4 hours. Hard goal is 4 hours. My medium goal is like sub 320. And then
Mm-hmm.
my soft goal is, sub 310.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna have fun. And then I'm looking down at my Garmin. I'm like, I'm averaging 7 minutes. I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna hit 320. And then I keep on going. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hit 315. And it looks like, wow, I'm gonna do 310. And I look down at my watch and I'm getting close to the finish line. I was like, I'm gonna PR and I feel great. I was like, what's wrong with me? I was like, there's something in the air here or something in the water here or something. But
Yeah.
it's like, man, I just feel really good. And,
Wow.
I was trying to hit as many water stops. And, the big thing for me too is, I'm a salt stick ambassador. So I always preach
Mm-hmm.
that day by day. I've
Yeah.
actually actually after the Air Force Marathon,
Mm-hmm.
I've got, it's healing up, but I've got a scar on my leg from
Oh, wow.
salt stick bottle, like these bottles like this.
Yeah.
um, I had one. This sounds funny, but I had it in my pocket.
Oh,
So
wow.
have some of my running shorts have like the kind of inner kind of not elastic, but like that are like tights almost underneath the shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
I had a pocket in there. And so Air Force Marathon, whenever I pace, I'm a firm believer on having a bottle of salt sticks with me.
Yeah.
That way, whoever's running with me or whoever I pass, I can make sure that they're
Yeah.
going through.
They're taking
So
care of. Yeah.
Air Force Marathon, I went through a whole entire bottle of salt sticks
Wow.
and ended up, it rubbed the skin raw on my leg. And so I've got a scar on my leg.
Oh, wow.
So,
You can tell salt steak, there you go. I'm a real salt steak fan, man. I got the proof.
yes, yes, I do too. I do too. So, but yeah, going with that, I was taking my salt. I was like, where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. I was religiously taking them like, I'm big on taking them every 5K. So I took
Hmm.
2 salt fast chews every 5K, a gel every 5K, and then, of
Hmm.
course, stopped at whatever water station. And I think we talked about it before, but I'm very different when it comes to water stations.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you've probably seen some of those videos of like the different marathon runners stopping at water
Yeah.
stations. One throws in their face, one like stops,
Yeah.
one keeps on running.
Yeah.
I'm one of those ones that what I'll do is I'll go behind the table and I don't even grab the water from the person, the volunteer. I grab a water or Gatorade from the table. That way it frees up other runners to be able to grab that
Okay.
because I actually stop and drink it. Um,
Okay. Okay.
and And what I find with that is it kind of gives my heart a chance to kind of reset a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I start running, and then I find that I catch right back up to right where I was, and I feel great. Um, so
Well, and at the same time, you're not if you go on the other side, you're not, stopping and maybe causing someone to hit you or something because that
yeah,
happens a lot.
yes,
That
it
happens a
does.
lot in races. So
It does.
that's kind of smart. That's smart that you do it that way. That way you can stop and you don't have to worry about getting hit or hitting somebody or getting someone to cuss you out or something.
Yes.
But that's pretty smart. That's pretty smart. But yeah, talking about salt stick, this past Berlin, I dabbed with the salt sticks because I knew in my previous marathons one of the biggest problems that I had was cramping, you know, and I wanted to make sure that that was not the reason. So you hooked me up with some discount for salt sticks. So thank you very much.
You
And
bet.
I've been using it ever since. I will tell you, I did cramp a little bit in the race, but there's a positive always to a negative. Previous races, I would cramp around mile 20, 21. This time the cramping happened all the way to 24.
Wow.
So I'm 2 miles away. That's definitely a big plus, you
Yes.
know. But I think after thinking about it, and it's been obviously a while since the race. I think I wasn't taking enough. That's the problem because I was doing it like I took your advice, taking it every 5K, and I think I was taking like maybe two.
Mhm.
I think I'm gonna have to either double it up to four or maybe three,
Mhm.
but it definitely made a big, huge difference.
Yes.
A huge, huge difference. And I didn't bring the bottle, which that would have been kind of cool to do it. I put them on this little snack Ziploc
Uh-huh.
bag, and I just threw half of the bottle in there. I was like, I'm not gonna
That's awesome.
count. I'm not good at counting how many I'm gonna need for the race. I'm just gonna take over, and if I take too much, it's okay. Better to take more than less, right?
Mhm. Yes.
But yeah, those salt sticks definitely make a big difference. So if the listener, try it. If you have had issues cramping in your race, definitely try them. They're very, very effective for sure.
Yes. The cool thing too is a lot of their little packages are
Hmm.
like a not necessarily a Ziploc, they snap shut.
Hmm.
Um, one thing I will tell you, one thing I do always in advance is I the night before I rip it
Hmm.
open on the top.
Yeah.
Because funny story is last year when I was doing the Anchorage Marathon,
Yeah.
um, uh, I went to open it. My hands were too sweaty and I couldn't open it. And so there was, this is a funny story. So there was some crowd support. There
Yeah.
were cheering people on, like, go, go, go. And I stopped to a crowd. I'm like, can you do me a favor? Like, what's that? I said, can you open this for me? I stopped in the middle of the marathon, had them open it, and they opened it for me. And I saw them
Oh
after the
man.
marathon and they were just cracking up laughing. I was like, so now I've learned from that the night before, if I just have the little packages, I
Yeah.
rip them open the night before because otherwise your hands get too sweaty.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Other thing that might help you is and not just you but other people,
Yeah.
one thing I started doing is like I will actually before I go to bed I'll take
Uh-huh.
two fast chews.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
wow.
then when I wake up I'll take two
Uh-huh.
fast chews before the race.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I don't know if that works for everybody, but I mean it's been working for me. So
It's worth a shot,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
worth to try out,
yeah,
but
exactly.
I'm very happy. My it's in every single, I don't think, well, maybe one. When I did New York City Marathon the first time, I did not cramp at all. But the other races, I always cramp somewhere. Usually it's between, like I mentioned, to 20, 21, maybe 22. But this time around, it was 24. And although those last 2 miles for me, it was only 2 miles, it it took me like about 30 minutes to do it because it was more of a walk and then run and then once I felt the cramp walk. So it took me a while. And I was kind of like you. I felt really good. It felt really good. My goal was 425 or 430. If I did 430, I would get a 6 minute PR. If I did 425, it would have been like 11-minute PR. And when I hit mile, what was it, mile 21 or something like that, I looked at my watch and I was like, oh my God, if I'm making my math right, which I suck at it, Um, I'm about to, if I finish, it will be a sub four, like a four, maybe like right exactly at four, you know. And I was thinking, I guess that's when I got a little too ambitious. Man, a 36-minute PR would be crazy, you
Yes,
know.
yes,
Most
yes.
people, when they get a PR, you're like, oh, a 1 minute, a 2 minute, maybe a 5 minute, you know. But I was like 36 minute, that would be insane, you know. And I think that got to my head. I think that
Mhm.
really got to my head to where I might have been pushing a little bit more than what I should.
Mhm.
But you know, it was a great race. It worked out for me. I was very happy. I still did very well. But definitely, I think I definitely need to increase the amount of salt stick. But I have another chance. I'm gonna run Houston, as you know. So hopefully, you know, that works out. So you what was your time? What was your time
Yeah.
at the end?
So the interesting thing is, so not this year, but last year,
Mm-hmm.
Houston Marathon
Mm-hmm.
was my all-time PR.
Okay.
And so that one was 307 in 2023.
307.
Since then, I have not done any better.
Okay.
Houston this year, I did 311.
Okay.
So me personally, I really felt like I had hit my peak, and that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I was kind
Yeah.
of down, and Berlin felt amazing. And Berlin, I was able to achieve a new PR at 305. So
Wow.
super
That's
stoked, super
super
stoked.
cool. Super, super cool.
Yeah.
And since you've ran both Houston and Berlin, which one's flatter for you?
I actually felt like Berlin.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
actually felt like Berlin.
I agree. I
You
agree
got
with
that
you
one bridge in
100%.
Houston.
Yeah, you have the one bridge at half, right at the half. And then remember when you hit the final, like what, 2.5 miles, you have to go under
Yes.
those little bridges.
Mm.
So just those, let's just pretend like there was no bridge in the half
Yes.
waypoint. I think those small little bridges that you go under the bridge, that makes it much more
Yes.
hillier than Berlin.
Yes.
And I had friends asking me like, is it really that flat? I was like, it makes Houston look hilly because it
Yes.
really
Yes.
does.
Yes.
It really
It
does.
does.
It's crazy
It
how
does.
flat it was. I think there was one elevation that I felt like physically felt where we went through a small little bridge, but it was super, super small, like nothing, like not much elevation. But I think that was the most I felt that we actually went up a little bit, you know. But like always, there's pros and cons. I'm pretty sure. What was your the one thing or a couple things that you felt was not as great or as good as what
Mm.
you expected?
So, one thing that you and Hillary talked about it on other podcasts is
Hmm.
just the water cups.
Yes.
That was a little bit of a challenge. I
Hmm.
really didn't struggle with it as much, but I saw a lot of other people struggling with it.
Yeah.
But that was a little bit challenge where I had to kind of
Yeah.
high step a little bit. I had to kind of step higher so I
Yeah.
wasn't slipping and falling. So I would say probably the cups, and then of course just like every single marathon, it's like with the tangents, Garmin, Poros, whatever you're wearing,
Hmm.
always is off. So when I was getting close to the finish line, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna hit sub 305. And then of
Yeah.
course, Garmin always says it's 26.6 or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's always a little longer, but I mean
Yeah.
that's a lot of times it's just GPS. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that was one of my only bummers. Like, man, I would have actually hit sub 305, but
I know
I was super
Strava's gonna
stoked.
show so different.
Yes, yes. But I mean, really, there were so many pros. I really didn't have any cons. The cool thing is the hotel I stayed at Hyatt the
Yeah.
night before, they had a carb loading buffet,
Wow.
and it was super reasonable. And I was like, oh man, it was like they did it perfectly. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, this is great. But I mean, really, I heard y'all's talk and everything,
Yeah.
and I heard some of those opportunities. But for me, I was pretty fortunate. I was pretty blessed that
Yeah.
I had nothing, really nothing negative. Fortunate, I was lucky that I didn't know until actually I was done with the marathon
Yeah.
that to look at the dates on there, because
Oh,
I heard
okay.
that they ran out. I heard y'all talk about that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Luckily enough, mine had the right date on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the only thing that was a little bit of a challenge at the end is, of course, trying to find people.
Yeah.
And funny story is, so my buddy Bill, You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's the one that got me into pacing. He's a pacer, and
Okay.
he was there in Berlin, and so he was telling me, he's like, okay, wait for me. And let me give you this advice. I've learned this the hard way many times. If anybody says meet me after the marathon, don't do it. Don't do it. So a lot of times, what I will do is, not all the time. It just depends on the location,
Yeah.
but I'll carry a portable charger in my pocket.
Okay.
So whether it's in a fanny pack or a big pocket in my shorts or whatever the
Yeah.
case, I'll carry a portable charger.
Yeah.
So I did not this time, because I was like, I'll get done. I'm less than about a mile from my hotel, mile and a half
Yeah.
on the finish line. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll go back, get a shower, charge my phone, everything will be good.
Yeah.
Well, my buddy Bill was like, hey, wait for me, wait in the that area,
Mm-hmm.
past the finish line, the waiting, I don't know what you call it, but the waiting area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I was waiting over there for a while I was tracking him, and he was hurting that marathon and didn't quite go how he wanted it to. He was cramping up and everything, and he had to slow down. And so he was shooting for around, I think it was like around four-ish, and I think he
Okay.
was closer to 4:45, or closer, about 4:45.
Okay.
And so I'm waiting there for him, and I'm looking at, because you see, I do Instagram Live, I do photos, I do video,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
listen to music. So, and on my flip phone, the battery's smaller, so it goes dead quicker. So I'm standing there waiting for him, and then I look and my battery's almost done. I'm like, oh crap. And so finally I tell him, I'm like, I'm gonna go back and charge my phone. So I waited for him. He got to the finish line and I never found him, but I was like, I gotta go back and charge my phone. Well, my battery was like down to 2%.
Oh, wow.
And you know, it's even though it's like a mile away, you still can kind of get turned around, because some of those buildings are pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got lost. So what do? I follow the herd. I'm like, okay, follow the herd of all the people finishing the marathon. That'll help me. What I
Yeah.
don't realize is that herd, they're all the ones that are taking the train back to their hotel. And so I walk an extra mile that way, and then my phone's completely dead.
Wow.
So of course, just like what I did getting in Berlin,
Mm-hmm.
stop and ask a police officer.
Only it's a
So
little bit harder because some of them
yes,
don't speak English. So
exactly. And that there was a little bit of a language opportunity there, but we made it work. But once again, he was nice enough, pulled out his phone. He's like, which Hyatt? I'm like, Hyatt Regency. Well, which Hyatt? I'm like, there's only one. And so he pulls up, he's like, back this way. And I was kind of a little bit lost,
yeah.
but then I figured it out and walked back.
Yeah.
And I realized I'd walked over a full mile the wrong direction. So then
Oh,
it's another
wow.
mile back.
And
So I
then
think,
another mile.
yeah, mile. So it was a little over a 5K walking back to the hotel.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
so I was just like, oh, I was like, I was I was so done, but I felt great. But I was just like, it's such a sick feeling when you're lost, because
Oh, yeah.
it's not a matter of hydration, food, or anything. It's just like, how do I get back? And it's like,
Well, and
I was just
again,
like a
you're
little,
in a different country and a
yeah,
different people
yes,
that speak a very
yeah,
different language.
yeah,
It's yeah, that's what gets to me. If I when I because I did get lost in Berlin a couple times,
yeah,
and it's just so hard to communicate. At
yes,
least if I've gotten lost in New York as well, but at least
yeah,
they speak the same language.
yes,
So you get
yes,
lost, or you got to tell a cop or somebody, "Hey, I'm trying to look for
yeah,
this," and they kind of help you out. But yeah, it's the ugly feeling of the
yeah,
communication part that you're
yeah,
not 100% sure if you're going to be able to understand or them understand you. So
yeah.
yeah, I get it completely.
And I'm sure the same thing with you is like, also too, there's that huge park, a
Hmm.
beautiful park.
Yeah.
Well, when I finally got to that area, I was coming back and I got lost on that standpoint. And so I would start listening to people who speak in English and who's not. And so I went to a few people and asked, and so they pulled up their phone to try to get me directions. Then their phones weren't getting service. And
Oh,
finally I ran
wow.
into this super nice guy. I don't remember his name, but he was, I think he was from Chicago. And I was
Okay.
talking to him, and actually his hotel was within less than a block of mine, and
Okay.
his phone was good.
Okay.
So him and I just chit chatted the whole time, and
Oh, nice.
he helped me get back to my hotel, so it was perfect. So, but then, but then my hotel is right close to, part of the marathon area. So of course, then my hotel, the road was completely blocked off with
Oh
barricades.
man.
So then I had to go past that area, find an opening, and then go down where the train is
Yeah.
underneath and go over and then back up and then around and then I was good. But so
Oh
I
man.
guess I guess if you could say I guess really the only negative thing was just getting back to my hotel, which most of that was my fault. So I can't really blame the
It sounds
marathon.
like a complete other trip right there,
Yes,
man. But yeah,
yes,
it the crossing I found that too. When I finished my marathon, um I was by I think what the Brandenburg Gate,
yes,
and they do have a section to where you can cross, but it would take forever. Like,
yes,
they would open one part and then let people in the little corral, and then once that you're there was a space, you can go to the other side. And like I was already cramping as it is, so my body was completely shot, and then had to stand there for like 20 minutes. Uh, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna pass out here. Like it was crazy, but I understand why they do it. It's not so
yes,
much of a negative. It's just when you're tired, everything feels like a negative.
yes,
So
yes,
so it that and I think like we mentioned with Hillary, and I don't think it's completely the Berlin Marathon's fault. The fact that they ran out of medals, and they didn't run out of medals because they undershot the medals. A lot of people were taking more than one. Yeah, and that's so sad. And then you go to eBay and you see them selling them, because I'm pretty sure the people that are selling them are probably the ones that got more than one medal.
yes,
I think they have to come up with a better plan because it is a massive, massive amount of exits. I did notice that it
yes,
wasn't just one, like in New York City Marathon, it's just a long, long road, but it's just one way to get out to the street. And so
yes,
they control the amount of medals. You can't come back, you know. And this one, I think there was one in the middle, and then they kind of opened up to the sides, and there was other people giving medals in each corner.
yes.
So it's a little bit
It's
harder
easy.
to keep an eye because
Yeah.
I can get one medal from one and then come back and go to the other one, and I can
Mhm.
hide my medal and I can get it
Yeah.
again, you know. But like I said, it's not. I don't think it's completely their fault. It's just people that are not honest, and that
Yes.
kind of sucks that they would do that. But the kudos, but at the same time, kudos to the Berlin Marathon because
Mhm.
whoever got a medal that was not with the date or they even got a volunteer medal, what they did is that they send you the new medal with the engravement of
Great.
your time and everything for free. So kudos to them to try and make
Yes.
things right. And I heard and I've seen on Instagram that they send them pretty fast.
Wow.
Send them really, really fast. So that's really cool. That's really, really cool. But so Berlin was first marathon. Which one was the other one? This was Chicago, right?
Chicago. Right.
It
Chicago.
was a
Chicago.
week after,
No, it was that one was 2 weeks after.
2
2 weeks
weeks.
after.
So
2 weeks. Yeah.
basically, one week you ran one marathon, then Berlin, and then 2 weeks Chicago. So
Chicago.
basically,
Yes.
what in a month you ran three marathons so far.
Yeah. September I ran 3, and then 2 weeks later ran Chicago. So 4 within five
Just about
weeks.
a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's that's impressive. That's impressive. So how did Chicago go? Was this your first time?
Yes. First time Chicago.
Okay. Okay. So how was it traveling? How did that go?
So the traveling went really well. I went ahead and of course I flew Friday. I was like, direct flight from Austin. So it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Got to meet up with some friends. Everything went well. One thing I realized is, I mentioned earlier as far as Berlin,
Hmm.
Berlin was the first one that a family member came with me to
Yeah.
marathon at all. But I realized like with majors, generally majors, actually I do have a roommate. So one of my friends, Jackie, she always rooms with me with Boston. So she's done
Okay.
that twice. And she'll be rooming with me again this next year for Boston.
Okay.
And then London, one of my buddies from Boston roomed with me in London. So
Okay.
it's like I pretty much had somebody room with me every time for a major
Okay.
marathon. Berlin was my brother. What was weird is I realized Chicago was the first time that it was just me, which was good and bad. I think it was kind of bad because what I found myself is I was very almost too relaxed. And so that morning I'm just taking my time, taking my
Yeah.
time. I was like, and I that was the first marathon, like, just the self-doubt all the time we talked about earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, every marathon I sleep like 3 hours, three and a half,
Yeah.
most,
Hmm.
most. And I think that one, I think I slept like 7 hours
Oh,
the night
wow.
before. So I was like super relaxed, and I slept good. And then I was just kind of like, I think I slept too much for that night because that morning I'm waking up and I'm taking my time. I'm like, okay, I have to be at the crowd by this time. I got plenty of time,
Yeah.
no problem. Um, Taking my time, like, okay, I left a little bit later. Well, I get there, and then the crowds there, I kind of struggled with because I was in D or E. E.
Okay.
And so when you're going to E, it branches off a little bit differently. Instead of going right past D, you have to circle around and
Hmm.
go way around and
Yeah.
then get to E. So
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And so next thing you know, it was getting close to the cutoff time of
Oh, wow.
shutting that corral, that wave. And
Yeah.
so next thing you know, myself and 20 or 30 other random strangers,
Yeah.
we're all running as fast as we can, like we're running a marathon to get over there in time. And then we finally get over there. And when we get over there, part of it's already looks like it's shut off. We can't get over there. And so
Yeah.
there's about like 7 or 8 of us that are climbing the fence
Oh my
over.
God.
We climbed the fence over and got in.
Okay.
So it went from being very lax to a little stressful. And once again, that was my own fault. But I get there, and so then within a short time, it's about to start. Well, Chicago Marathon was a little bit warmer than what it usually is. It was like, I think it was like 61, 62 degrees,
Yeah.
which is hot to me for marathons. Me, it's got to be 30s and 40s, 50s at the highest.
Yeah.
And it was like 61. So I was already drenched in sweat. And when the marathon started, I never cooled down.
Okay.
So by mile 4 or 5 when we're starting, and considering that like Berlin, set the record of over at that time over 52,000
Yeah.
finishers. Um, it never seemed that crowded to me. Chicago, right off the bat, was super, super, super crowded. And one thing it's great for Chicago Marathon, but one thing I see is like, you can put what your projected time is, which is great. But
Yeah.
then I feel like, there were certain things I was upset about the Chicago Marathon, but then running it, I had to kind of self-reflect and just think overall. And once I did that, it put my mind at a better space. And that's the fact that a lot of these people, it's their first marathon. And so
Yeah.
Chicago is a little different than from Boston and some other majors. This is their first marathon. And so, a lot of these people are thinking, hey, I can do 3:20, I can do 3:40, I can do 4 hours. So they're putting these times. And then when they're getting out there, of course, they realize it's not as easy as what it seems in their head, challenges. And
Yeah.
so I found that, it was super, super, super crowded and I was
Yeah.
already overheated. So, from the Berlin Marathon of how I felt mentally and physically was a complete 180 from Chicago. Chicago, and everybody was telling me like, oh, if you got a 3:05 in Berlin, you're going to get a sub 3 in Chicago. And
Yeah.
me, I go in the mindset of listen to your body. I listen to my head too, but I listen to my body, and whatever my
Of
body is
course. Yeah.
telling me, the brain will follow, the body will follow.
Yeah.
And so I look, and by mile 7 or 8, where in Berlin, I was pacing like a 7 minute mile. I was looking down, and I was like 7:25, 7:30. And so I was like, at that already, I was like, I'm just going to listen to my body. This isn't going to be another PR. This isn't going to be another 3:05. This isn't going to be a
Yeah.
3:10. I'm just going to have fun and go with it. And
Yeah.
so that's what I did. I was like, I'm gonna have fun, go with it. But I felt super overheated majority of the time.
Hmm.
And then just those little things cause you to forget certain things that you normally do. So, for example, we talked about fault stick.
Yeah.
I realized by like mile 9 or 10, hadn't taken any salt sticks besides the night before and the morning of.
Yeah.
I wasn't taking them during my 5Ks. I was doing my gels, but I wasn't taking my salt sticks.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely played a role in that.
Yeah.
And so then once I got halfway through that, I started taking my salt stick, then got back on rhythm.
Yeah.
But also too, one thing I tried different, which I found out doesn't work either, is this sounds silly. With all the marathons I've done, I never knew about blue lines for tangents.
Oh, okay. 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 Yeah.
So
That it's the shortest way
yes,
to run it. Yeah.
so
Or the
Chicago, I
not
was
the
like,
shortest, the
yeah,
most efficient way to run
efficient,
it. Yeah.
most
There you
efficient.
go. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna stay on that. So I attempted to stay on that, and what I found is actually everybody was staying on that. So whether you're fast, slow, whatever the case. And so when I finished the marathon, I actually finished way longer. And so I feel like I was staying on the tangents and then swerving in, swerving out, swerving in,
Yeah.
swerving out,
Yeah.
causing it to be even longer than what it would have been. So lesson learned. I will just stay on my sidelines like I normally do and keep my pace.
Yeah.
But that one is like it just was super crowded, and I just felt like I could never get a good rhythm, whether it was me or just my surroundings.
Yeah.
And then about mile 8 or 9, I had a young lady that she I don't know what she dropped. She dropped something
Uh-huh.
right in front of me, and her and I were going the same pace, so we're like this.
Yeah.
And I don't know what she dropped, but when she dropped it, instead of her moving to the side or keep on running, whatever it
Oh.
was, she stopped in front of me and bent over.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
I had to just grab her by her shoulders because I was like, if I don't grab her by her shoulders, I'm just going to knock her down and she's going
Yeah.
to go down. I'm going to go down and people behind me are going to go down.
Yeah.
So I just grabbed her shoulders, kept the momentum, kind of pulled her to the side, caught my balance, grabbed her balance. And then once did that, then I ran.
Yeah.
So that was a big challenge. And then another challenge of Chicago was, the fan support's great. However, I'm sure even when you ran it, people were running across the street back and forth
Yes.
in front of runners. And so
Yes.
that was a big, big, big challenge. So those were some opportunities. Some of them were self-inflicted,
Mm-hmm.
but the mind space in Berlin and Chicago were completely different. And I hate to say it, don't hate me for this, but out of all the majors, I would say Chicago was my least favorite. So
I've done three. So I've done New
mhm,
York and Chicago and Berlin. And so far, New York for me is number one, Berlin is number two,
mhm,
and Chicago is number three. Uh, for me, the reason why Chicago is number three, it's more of a personal one because it was my first marathon and I cramped at mile 11. So that was horrible to run it that early to get cramped. So, but that was, like you said, self-inflicting.
yeah,
I was not prepared. Um, and one thing that I saw on your marathon for this year's than the one I did is that the crowd support was much better. When I did it, there was a lot of gaps where there was nobody. There
yeah,
was nobody. And at least from, the videos that I've seen, obviously it doesn't show the whole thing, but I saw a lot of more crowd support in areas that there weren't when I did it. So I'm glad that there was better support because as a runner we feed off of that, and when there's just silence and footsteps, that sometimes could play in your head, and it could play in a negative way in your head. So I'm glad that look, at least for what I saw, that was much better. But yes,
yes,
it's not my favorite. I definitely want to do it again just because I want to do better more
mhm,
than anything. And now with 7 marathons in my belt, I think I've learned a lot more than what I when I did it the first time. But as of marathons, it's my least favorite too. It is my least favorite. I think it's more about the same reasons.
mhm,
People do tend to cross in the wrong time. Right when you're passing, and it's it throws you off. It really does throw
mhm,
you off. Because now you gotta kind of move to the side or make a drastic change in what you're doing. So I can totally understand why you didn't feel you weren't engaged or locked in, I
mhm.
guess. for the race, because one, you had to jump a fence, which now
Yes.
it became like a Spartan run. You're doing
Right, right.
obstacles. So that probably threw you off, and that probably made you forget about your salt sticks,
Mhm.
and then having to grab the lady so she wouldn't fall and you wouldn't fall, and people crossing. Of course, that would throw anybody off. So even at that, what was your time? What did you
Yeah.
finish?
Yeah. And overall, I'm very blessed. I'm very happy. So I'm not complaining at all by any means.
Yeah.
Majority of mine was self-inflicted, but I was very happy with my time. I finished 3:12. So I
3:12.
was very happy with that.
That's still very
Yes.
good. Very,
Yes.
very good, man. Very, very good. But it's still, it throws you off. It really does,
Mhm.
man. And kudos to you that you were able to find that mindset and be able to kind of like just stop, and not completely stop. You didn't stop, but like in your
Mhm.
mind, stop and reset and then continue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because as a runner, once, I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe I'm more picky than what I thought, but stuff like that really gets to my head, and I basically shut down at times. I
Mhm.
will just be like, I don't even care if I finish at this point. And I've been learning how to do that. I've been learning how to reset, because I'm sure that happens in to you in the race multiple times, where you gotta do a little gut check and be like, no, you're okay. You're
Yeah.
fine. So kudos for you, man. And so Chicago was 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And then I think this is where you actually had a little bit of time to get
Yes.
ready for New York, right? Because that's
Yes.
October, like just about a month, right?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So from
Close
from
enough.
two
Close enough.
weeks to 3 weeks. Okay, man.
Close enough.
That's the longest time that you probably didn't run a marathon,
Right.
man.
Right. Right.
Or
It's
did you
true.
run
It's true.
something in between, man?
No, I didn't. I didn't. That was
Okay,
it. That was
okay.
it. So
But you did a lot of hiking and a lot of other
yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So one thing you were talking about, this the headspace.
Mm-hmm.
That was really, really, really crucial for me. And that's something that one thing that really helped me is that one thing that was, I talked a lot about like the Berlin Marathon. It was special to me because it was my dad where he was stationed. The
Yeah.
other thing with that is my mom had passed September 28th,
Okay.
2020.
Okay.
Berlin Marathon was September 29th. So even though it's 4 years
Oh
later,
man.
it hit
Yeah.
there too. So that was something that helped play with that factor. With Chicago, fast forward,
Mm-hmm.
the day before Chicago Marathon would have been my dad's 88th birthday.
Oh
So
wow.
when I was in that headspace of kind of a little bit in the funk of like, almost knocking people down, overheated, just everything else, I kept on thinking, hey, I'm doing this one for my dad.
That's
I'm doing
awesome.
this one for my dad. Yesterday would have been his birthday.
Mm-hmm.
This is up in heaven. This is for him. So
Yeah.
I got that mind space, and then I was able to get out of that funk and finish it. So
Yeah,
yeah. So
that's
when you're talking about
awesome. That's
headspace,
awesome.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's amazing, that knowing that you're doing it for somebody, it's like your father, that's, other than your mother, it's the best reason to do it, man. So
right.
I'm proud of you for that. And like again, 312 is amazing. I'm always talking about you to Alma, because um and she also loves to see your stuff, man. And it's funny because I think Berlin, yeah, I think did you do a live on Berlin?
I
You
think
did,
I
right?
did. I
Yeah,
think yeah,
I
because I
think you
had
did.
T-Mobile. Yeah, I did. Anytime I got
Yeah.
T-Mobile,
Yeah,
I'm
because
on.
she told me, I was like, I was like, she actually told me, did you see Paul Lloyd did a live? I was like, babe, I can't see him. I was running myself, you know? But she's like, yeah, he
Uh,
did a live. I'm like, oh, that Paul. And then of course, Chicago, I actually got onto your live, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
was kind of messaging you. Of
yeah,
course,
yeah,
you were too busy, running, but yeah, it's awesome to see your live. So I
yeah.
always look forward. When I know you're gonna run, I usually keep my phone ready to see if I catch you. So 3 weeks passed. Now it's New York. This is also your first New York City
Yes.
Marathon. And you know what? Let's reverse. I did want to mention, wanted to ask you, did you Boston qualify in Berlin and in Chicago? I'm pretty sure, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay. So you did. Okay, okay. And so let's talk about New York. So New York,
Mhm.
first time that you're gonna do it. Uh, I'm guessing it's a straight shot from Austin as well, right? The flight.
Yes. 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 I went from Austin to JFK.
Okay, JFK, and you got there a couple days before. And no problems, nothing like the other ones. No, no.
So I was very, very skeptical because originally I was going to be flying in Friday night,
Yeah.
and looking at Austin weather showed thunderstorms.
Mm,
And so Friday when I was leaving,
yeah.
so I was like, you know what? If I don't get in Friday, I might get in late Saturday. If I don't make it for packet pickup, this isn't going to fly. So
Yeah.
last minute, unfortunately, I ended up paying 300 extra bucks to change my flights,
Oh, wow.
and another $300 for an extra hotel night. So that stung quite a bit, but
Yeah.
I, I no regrets at all. No regrets at all. It's like I got to catch up with friends. My entertainment getting there is everybody talks about the train,
Mm-hmm.
but it was already getting pretty late in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to do an Uber, and then right when I clicked on an Uber, right in the waiting area, this guy rolls down his window. Is like, "You get an Uber?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, cancel that real quick. I'll take you." And he
Oh,
was an
wow.
Uber, but he was he had dropped somebody off, but he wasn't showing up on there yet.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of weird because I didn't see any markings on his car that he was an Uber. He's like,
Yeah.
"Get in," and I'm like, he's like, "How much is Uber charging?" And I told him, he goes, "I can do that cheaper. Hop in." The only thing that saved me is it was a nice car, and I was like, the good thing is if this guy is trying to abduct me, I can run fast. I was like, I'll jump out of the car and run, break the window.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it was very, very entertaining to say the least. So
Yeah,
got
it
there.
sounds like he was doing a little side
Yeah,
hustle then.
yeah.
Nice.
But got there a little late. The once I finally got there, I was able to settle in the hotel.
Yeah.
Originally, when I booked the hotel, like I said, I had just had the Friday, Saturday, Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
Then I ended up going ahead and just switching to that Thursday night. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I was very thankful. No hiccups getting there. Stayed pretty close to the finish line, just over in Times Square.
Okay.
And then that one, I didn't have the qualifying time, so I did run through charity. I
Okay.
ran for Organization of Autism Research, which was a
Okay.
really cool organization to run for.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny how it all worked out because I was still in Hawaii at the time. I think it was July or August.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy Phil from Boston's like, "Hey, Paul, do you want to run charity for New York?" And I'm like, and I'm thinking he means next year. I was like, I'll see if I can try to get qualifying time, because technically for me, for Berlin would have almost got it because it's 3:05 for me for New York, even though it was 3:05 and some change. So technically I wouldn't have made it. But I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's going to motivate me to get faster to qualify for New York.
Yeah.
Um, but then I heard all the horror stories of New York, to where it's like, I know people that actually have had like 12-minute, 15-minute buffer qualified time and not got in.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. So my buddy Phil's like, "No, Paul, it's not for next year. It's for this year." I was like, "Well, that's a lot of money to raise in a short length of time." And I'm like, "You know
Yeah.
what? It's for a good cause. It's a double win. It's good for the organization. It's good for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it." So that went very well. The cool thing about that is when you run for charity for New York, the
Yeah.
awesome thing is, you go through that bus just like you do in Boston. You go on the other side. And the cool thing is once you get there, they have heated
Yeah.
tents.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the amazing thing is, so what was amazing is like when I got to New York, it was hot. It was hot. And we were just so blessed that the cold front came in the
Mm-hmm.
night before, and New York Marathon weather was perfect. It was
Yeah.
perfect. I was a little cold once I got in my corral. I
Yeah.
was actually shivering, and I think a lot of that was because I was so spoiled with that heated tent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't acclimated.
Yeah.
But we had chairs, and what's funny is sitting in the tent. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
I was the only one in that tent that was in that wave, and like, "Paul, it's 8:30. You need to go out there." I'm like, "No, I'm gonna wait a little while." They're like, "You should go out now." I'm like, "It shuts down at like 8:50 or 8:45 or 8:50. I think it's 8:50. I was like, "I'm gonna go about 8:45 because it was close by." Like,
Yeah.
"I'll go out." I'm like, "I'm enjoying this." And so then it's like I finally went out, and then like waiting there. The interesting thing is like the waves, the crowds there. they're
Mm-hmm.
not as crowded the way they've got them divided up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
so
much
I
better.
get there and it's much better. But on the flip side, when it was that cold right there, you're
Mm-hmm.
used to everybody's body heat and you didn't
Yeah.
have it. So for about like 10
Yeah.
minutes, I was actually shivering. I'm like, uh-oh. And
Oh, wow. That's
but
crazy.
no hiccups on the beginning at all. Everything like, New York has it. I mean, I could not believe like how well organized New York was.
Yeah.
Prior to doing New York, everybody told me like, well, it's hard, it's hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
that people say how it's one of their favorites, but they're like, oh, be ready for the hills. It's hard,
Mm-hmm.
the bridges. And so I was in the mindset of I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna finish sub 4, but I know it's gonna be hard. I
Yeah.
went in that mentality is like just sub 4. That's all I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
But but there was like no. I feel like you're about to ask a question, so I'm gonna cut
Oh,
myself
no,
off
no,
right
no. You're
there.
good. You're good. You're
But yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. But it was a perfect start. Like the way everything was organized from the
Yeah.
beginning, couldn't be couldn't be any better at all.
No, I have to agree with you. It's the best organized one that I've done, and I feel like it's it's such looking at the route, it's such a long marathon. It's 26 miles like every single one, but I feel like most marathons just go around one place, like within the city. But this one's, if you look at how long it is, it goes through 5 boroughs and all that.
Yes.
It requires a lot more, organization, and they do such a good job. They do
Mhm.
really good. The corrals and the waiting area is amazing. They feed you, they give you everything you need. I got spoiled as well with my second time. I did it for Team for Kids,
Uh-huh.
and the Team for Kids, to take the ferry. We don't even take the ferry. You actually meet in Manhattan, and they take you on a smaller boat. So it's
Oh
just
wow.
charity people, and they take you straight to Staten Island, and then from there you get on these charter buses. So they're very nice buses and very comfortable. So, and they take you also to where it's nice and heated. It's a tent just dedicated for all Team for Kids. So it's amazing. It's amazing what they do, and how they well organized it is. And yes, it's the toughest marathon I've ever done, but it's also the funnest. So I think when you even out the how tough it is to the fun, it kind of helps you, because
Yes.
that crowd support has to be very electric,
Yes.
and it was. I don't know how it was for you, but for me, it
It
was.
was
I think the bridges were the only times that you saw nobody
right.
other than the runners.
Mhm.
And my favorite area was Brooklyn. I think
Mhm.
Brooklyn was bumping.
It was. It
It
was.
was amazing. There's places where there was so many people on both sides that they actually got into the street, and you were literally just running on one lane, like literally one lane, and you had
Mhm.
people really close to you, but everybody engaged, everybody happy, keeping you motivated. So yes, it's an amazing race. What was what was one of the favorite things that you did when you were running? Like, what was the best part of it, for you?
So, it's that's a tough question actually. I don't have an answer for that one because everything felt good.
Hmm.
The first mile, I would say, would be the most challenging,
Yeah,
and that was going on the bridge. Did you do the upper or the lower?
I did the lower, and I think
Okay,
the
I did the
upper
lower.
is much harder.
Yeah, yeah. Oh wow, good to know. Well, the lower, that first mile and a half,
Yeah,
I was like, man, this like it was so crowded.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was like
Yeah.
you couldn't. I think my first mile was like 8 or 8.5 minute pace.
Hmm.
And that's all I could do. But I listened to my body, listened to my mind. I was like, you know what? This is something that's uncontrollable. Just
Yeah,
go with it. Don't try to push yourself and force yourself to get around people. It's
yeah.
so crowded. Just go through it and
Hmm.
go with it. And I'm glad I did. The funny thing is, I heard people joking about this, and then I actually heard them announcing it on the speaker. Do not pee off the bridge. Do
Yeah,
not pee off the bridge. And I
yeah.
thought they were joking. They were serious. And then
Oh
like
no.
right right before the bridge, I saw some people on the lower peeing on the side, like right before the start, but it was on the lower, not the top. But
You
I
see,
started laughing at that. That was
yeah.
my humor.
No,
Um,
yeah,
but
yeah. They told me actually, I got advice from some friends that had done it, and they said, Don't get on the edge because the people on the top will pee, and then you can get some of that if you're close to the edge. So
yes,
I made sure I ran right in the middle. I'm
yeah,
not going to even take a risk. But yes, they do tell you. They tell you multiple times when you're waiting on the corral go to the bridge that you will be disqualified if they catch you.
yes,
So I was like,
yes.
nope, nope, not even getting close.
That was my humor of the marathon. I was like, I thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really did not have a favorite part. I mean, the funny thing is like just based on what people told me, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't say I had low expectations. I didn't have low expectations, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know. I guess I really didn't know. I didn't have an opinion or expectation.
Okay.
So when I ran, man, the energy was just crazy. And of course, we were so blessed with the weather. That cold front came in; it was
Yeah.
perfect. And the funny thing is that Berlin had the record of the 52,000 plus finishers,
Yeah.
and that was the biggest one record to date of any world majors.
Mm-hmm.
And then New York goes and beats that at I believe 55,000
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah.
So freaking
Crazy.
amazing. And the irony is that with that, it felt less crowded than Chicago.
Yeah.
It felt less crowded than Chicago. And I feel a lot of that is just the way how well New York Marathon organizes and
Mm-hmm.
how they have it all divided off and branched together. And,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have no clue how they make all that work. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's
But,
crazy. It's
um,
crazy. But yeah,
but
I think you finally meet up with most of the corrals, like the different colors, like
mhm,
around mile three, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
Somewhere
yeah,
around there is where you start seeing everybody kind of
mhm,
get in. But I think that it's more than anything, it's the streets in New York
yeah,
are much wider. At least in
right,
Brooklyn, I felt like that.
yeah,
And yeah, it's well organized on that point because for 50, I think it was like 54,000 or
yes,
54,000
yes,
people. You have to make sure that, everything works to the
mhm,
T because if you start off one crowd sooner than the other, it would be chaos. So
yes,
yeah, it's amazing. I'm very jealous because I had just been in a race that we broke the record, and not only 3 weeks later or like a month later, I guess, it's broken again. I'm like, Jesus,
yes.
man, I can't even brag about it anymore, man. I didn't even get enough time to brag about it. Jeez.
Uh, I was blessed to be in both of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was amazing. I always have one earbud in,
Hmm.
and the irony why I don't have two is that specific headset. I lost one earbud in Boston last year.
Okay,
Little did I know that actually that's my new thing that I'll only run with one now because it's
okay.
nice. You can still have your music, you can still hear the crowds, but
Yeah.
the crowds were amazing. And what's interesting is like New York wasn't like Chicago where people were stopping in front of you or crossing in front of you. It was really like easy to navigate, and I didn't have
Yeah.
any problems at all. And just the energy. The funny thing is that the crowds were so thick. Multiple people that were there that I knew that were in the
Hmm.
crowds, I never saw. And what's funny is my buddy Noah from Salt Stick and Joseph from Salt Stick, they
Okay.
were at mile 20 and they were
Uh-huh.
handing out salt sticks. Well, in Boston, I saw them. I stopped and gave them a hug and talked to them for a second. I was going to do the same this time. I was looking for them and never saw them. And then I was like, maybe they weren't there yet, but they're like, we were
Yeah.
there. And then they had all their stories on Instagram of they were there. And I'm like, how did I miss them? How did I miss them? But it was just
It's so
so
many
crowded.
people. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I had a buddy that was in Brooklyn. I didn't see him.
Yeah.
Um, I had a buddy in the Bronx. Didn't see him, and
Yeah.
it's like I didn't see any of them. So
Oh wow.
it's kind of funny the way it worked. But the crowd support was freaking amazing. Water stops were great. I
Yeah.
mean, everything was like it was kind of like magical, kind of like Berlin. So I
Hmm.
went from low expectations of New York to very satisfied with it. And, I would say it's hard to rank that with other marathons. Berlin was still my top favorite.
Yeah.
London was my second,
Mm-hmm.
but New York is my third.
Okay.
And I feel New York was almost a second with London. I mean, it's
It's pretty
super,
close.
super close. I mean, like I said, I didn't know what to expect and
Yeah.
had low expectations, which sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah.
went in the mentality of no matter what, I'm going to have fun and I'm going to finish. And that's what I did. And, I finished that marathon feeling great. And I was like, wow, that was amazing.
And what was your time?
3:14.
3:14. So you
Yes.
did 3:05, 3:12, and 3:14. Very
3:14.
solid runs,
Yeah.
man. Very,
Yes.
very solid runs. For being, and it always helps that you live in a very hilly area. So you're definitely prepared for those hills. What did you think? I always ask this for every single person that I knew that did New York. I think it is the bridge. I always say Queens Bridge, but I'm not sure if that's the name. I think it's the third bridge we crossed, the longest one we crossed, even longer than Verzano. What
Uh,
did you think of that bridge? I think it's about mile 18, I think. I
I think
think you hit
so.
mile 18.
I think that's the
Um,
one that I felt like was never going to end.
yes. Oh my
And,
God.
and I'm looking at my time. I'm like, oh. And then, you always forget what goes up must come down. And
Yeah,
then it's like
yeah,
you go from that slow pace to like, oh, it's like that
yeah,
faster pace.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that one was a little bit of a challenge. I thought it was interesting too. I've never seen marathons where they have like the red carpet on there where nobody trips on certain
Mm-hmm,
areas.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever been in a marathon that's had that.
Yeah, no, no, I know what you mean, but yeah, that one to me also was very challenging. But it knowing that it was, I think it is mile 18 that I was getting to mile
I
18.
think
I think
so.
that helped me get motivated to do it because I knew
Yes.
after 18 I'm just that closer to finish, and
Mhm.
and it was the third. I think it is the third bridge if I'm not mistaken, maybe fourth because I think after that you go into what is it, Queens,
Mhm.
it's Bronx. Yeah, the Bronx is the last one that you cross once you come back to Manhattan, but it's definitely a challenging one, but it's probably after that it gets a little bit easier. It's not
Yes.
as hilly from there, but man, New York City is fun.
Mhm.
So basically out of these three marathons, major marathons, which ones would you do again?
Actually, I would do them all again.
Good answer. Good
So,
answer. Good
so,
answer.
so, to top that off, so Chicago, I just wasn't feeling. What's funny is I had a friend that did Chicago last year,
Yeah.
and she said she won't do it again because it was too cold last year. And then this year, I didn't want to do it again because it was too hot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what's funny is like right after the same day or the day after Chicago, I got might have been a few days later. I got an email from Chicago that said, "Thanks for participating in Chicago Marathon. Your time with Chicago Marathon qualifies you for next year's marathon."
Yeah.
And and the cool thing about Chicago is if you have qualifying time, it's not like Boston where you might get in, you might not.
Yeah.
It's you're in, and
It's a
and
guarantee.
they
Yeah.
let you know within like the same day or the next day.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of procrastinated a little bit. I was kind of on the fence, and I was asking friends. I'm like, "What do you think I should do?" Well, and everybody's like, "You should do it," but I was just torn, and I'm like, you know, Boston is one you'll do if you get in. You'll want to do it every year.
Yeah.
Chicago, I was like, I don't know if I want to do it again, and so it opened up back in October, and just like I guess it closed November 21st.
Yeah.
I think I went ahead and registered the week before.
Well, as
I
long
think
as
like
you
the
register, that's
14th.
all that
So
matters.
I was on the fence, but I was like, you know what? I think it's vengeance. I think I need to give it another chance. I was too hard on it for my own self. So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna give it another chance. And if it goes great, okay, Chicago's great. If it's not so great, I won't do Chicago again.
No, if the weather gets better, I think you will definitely do much better. I
Yes.
mean, a 312 is really good. But I think the weather definitely played a little bit of the wrong card for you. But I'm excited for you, man. I'm excited for you to do it again. And then you have London next year, or well, Boston and London, obviously.
Boston, actually not London. As far as what I've got
Oh no,
looking forward
Tokyo,
to,
Tokyo. You have
Tokyo.
right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah, yeah.
And that'll be the 6 stars. So this year was pretty epic because last year I did 10 marathons and 50K.
Okay,
This year, um, first time I've achieved 11 marathons. And so this next week, I will be volunteering in Volcanoes National Park again.
okay,
And so I'll be there from December through April.
okay.
With that said, I was like, well, since I'm here, I might as well do the Honolulu Marathon again.
Okay,
So I've got that coming up in less than 2 weeks.
okay.
And so that one's a pretty challenging one just because of the heat and there is some
Yeah.
elevation. On the bright side, it starts at 5 a.m.
Oh,
Um,
okay, okay,
this will be my third time to do that one in person, along
okay,
with the virtual one in Honolulu. So it'll be my
okay.
fourth time. Fourth time, yeah. So, so I'll be doing that one in December. And then part of my stipulations of me volunteering again in Hawaii was two things. I'm pacing Houston Marathon in January, so I'll see you
Okay.
there.
That's
And
awesome.
I was like, I need that time off. That's a deal breaker. If you can't give me that time off, I
Yeah.
won't be able to volunteer. And then
Okay.
number two was Tokyo. I was like, if you can't give me like 9 days off in March, I can't do it.
Yeah. Well,
So,
that's good.
so they agreed to that. And
That's
then
awesome.
after I agreed to all of that, I've got Boston April 21st, 22nd. And
Uh-huh.
they, right when they agreed to everything, they're like, okay, you said you're here till the end of March, but we could use you here till the end of April. And I was like, I can give you till April 12th or 13th. I said, because the following week is Boston, and there
Yeah.
wouldn't be much sense of me flying to Boston and then flying back for 3 or 4 days. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
agreed till April 12th. So got a few on the agenda. Got Honolulu next month, January, Houston,
Yeah.
nothing in February, March, Tokyo,
Hmm.
Boston, April.
Well, that's awesome, man. So with this Honolulu marathon, that would put you at 11 or 12 marathons for
12,
the year. 12.
12.
Wow. Wow. So basically you average one marathon per month.
Yes,
That's amazing.
yes,
Amazing,
yes. That'll be a
amazing, man.
record for me. Um,
And I'm pretty
depend-
sure next year you'll break that one too.
we'll see. We'll see. January, of course, Houston. I don't have anything in my agenda in February. Now,
Hmm.
when I get back from Tokyo, there is a marathon 2 weeks later in Big Island, where I'm at, and
Okay.
in Hilo. So I've never done that one before, but I've wanted to do it. I've heard it's hard,
Hmm.
but I will probably be signing up for that one.
Why not? Why not? You're already
So
over there.
I'm
Might as
already
well
over
do it.
there.
Might as
And I've
well
got
do it.
friends so they can give me a ride, so I don't have to worry about a car or anything. So
Well, I'm already giving you the peer pressure that you want. Why?
yes,
Just do it.
why
Just
not?
do it.
Why
Okay.
not? Why not? I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will. I'm trying to control my spending.
Whoever said running was not an
Yeah.
expensive hobby, they were wrong.
Mm. Yes. Um,
No, but
one thing I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
One thing I was going to throw out to you
Yeah.
and for other people is just like different clubs. Make sure to join different things.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I'm big on my Atreyu. I run in my
Mm-hmm.
Atreyu all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but also I'm biased towards a local brand in Austin, but also too, I run with Saucony sometimes. I run with Hoka sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not naive to try other things out and see how
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So Brooks had their running club. Well, a while back, every once in a while they do their giveaways for shoes and different things like that.
Yeah.
Well, I had synced up my Garmin or Strava to the Brooks Running Club, and so you'll get at once in a while you'll say something says like an email or a text that says workout complete.
Mm-hmm.
This is the craziest thing ever, and I don't know if you've ever heard of this or not, but
Yeah.
immediately after I finished New York Marathon, within like a minute or two, I get a text from Brooks that
Oh,
says,
wow.
"Thank you for completing the New York Marathon. As the gratitude of our appreciation, please visit any Fleet Feet store for a free pair of Brooks up to $200."
Wow.
I thought it was
That's
spam.
awesome. Yeah, I would too.
I thought it was spam. So right after I got my reset at the New York Marathon, I met up with some buddies, hang out with them for a little while, went back to the hotel, kind of recharged a little bit. And I was like, all right, I got to go find out if this is legit. But of
Yeah.
course, the closest Brooks location, I'm sorry, closest Fleet Feet was a mile and a half away. So I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to go. So I walked over there, which was a challenge because, marathon was still going on,
Yeah.
and got there. And asked the manager, like, is this spam? She goes, nope, it's real. And so that specific Fleet Feet location I went to,
Hmm.
and the guy there, he really didn't care much about really anything. I don't think. So I was talking to him, asking him what Brooks shoes. So he was trying to get me to get some like $120 pair of Brooks shoes,
Of
and
course.
then and it's up to 200. So hey, I'm gonna get my
Yeah,
money's worth.
yeah, of course. Of
And
course.
so I started looking at Brooks' website, and then I started looking at Fleet Feet's website, and then I'm like, hey, what about this pair? He's like, oh, I forgot about those. He's like, let me see. Let me go get some for you to try. And he comes back, he goes, oh, we don't have those. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. He goes, but he goes, one of our other Fleet Feet stores may have it. Let me check. So he checks. He goes, yeah, they do. He goes, they close at 7 o'clock. And they're like a mile and a half away. And so he's like, okay, I'm gonna have them hold them for you. So it's like 6:20 or 6:30 at this point. So I'm like
Yeah.
walking past after already doing the marathon, meeting up with friends. So at this point, I'm already at like I think 30 something mile, like 36, 37 miles already at the
Oh,
day.
wow.
So I go walk and get there, and then no problem at all. They're like, we got these help for you. I'm like, okay, here's my code. What do you need? They're like, nope, here you go, enjoy. Brand new pair of the Ghost shoes.
The Ghost Max, right?
Yeah, so they're pretty comfy.
Yeah. Yeah, those
They
are
have a lot
nice.
of padding, so
Yeah.
um, I'm biased to Atreyu, but I ran those in the next day, and usually like the recovery days are a little bit slower,
Yeah.
and in those the recovery days were actually a little faster.
Nice, nice. So
So yeah,
they're definitely helping you out. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
And like
I
I
still
told I
rotate every day.
nice. And like I told you when you t because you had text me about it, and you're now an official influencer because you got a free pair of shoes. So there you go. There you go,
I
man.
don't
You're
know
you're
about that. I don't know. Actually, I
No.
got two. I got two pairs because I joined my Atreyu group
Yeah.
this past week during TRE, and they gave me a pair. So
Oh,
I
that's
got two free
awesome.
pairs.
That's awesome. But that's that they know you're a very faithful fan of theirs, and
Yeah. Yes.
I'm glad they have you. I'm also very happy and to do local, always help
Mhm.
the local
Yes, definitely.
businesses. I'm an
Definitely.
ambassador for Spy Belt, which they're local Austin
Lovely.
company, woman owned and whatnot. So yeah, it's always good to promote, these local
Mhm.
businesses that so they can have some success, of course,
Yeah,
man. But
for sure. For
it's
sure.
awesome. It's awesome. I've tried Atreus. I like them too.
Mhm.
They're very comfortable
Mhm.
and very light, very very light.
Right.
I was
Middle
very
lift shoes.
impressed how
Mhm.
light they are. I remember trying them for the first time on a like a test run because I wanted to try them out. I I think I ran the fastest mile, I'm not gonna lie, and I felt like I didn't even have them on. I
Yes.
literally had to look down to see if I had the shoes because it felt like at one point I thought I even they came off because it felt like that they really are very I think they might be the lightest shoes I've ever ran in, you know. So shout out to Atreyu. Thank you for keeping my boy over here well equipped for his runs. But Paul, don't want to take too much of your time. You're a busy man. I know you
I don't
gotta
want to take too much of your time.
no, no, for sure. But I appreciate you being here, giving us some time for your recap on your races. You're definitely a very big inspiration. I really
Thank you.
enjoy talking to you. I really enjoy messaging with you. You're a cool cat in my book. You're very humble. You're amazing. I know this because even when I was in Berlin, you definitely we didn't meet up, but you definitely kept me, in the loop, giving me the kudos, the good luck, and that goes far, man. In my book, it goes far. So I appreciate you, and hopefully we'll keep an eye on you because if you do 12 marathons this year, I'm going to go and say that you're probably going to do 13 or 14 next year. For some reason, I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. For sure, for sure.
We shall see. My goal is to hit 50 by age 50, and I'm 48. So that was marathon 28. Honolulu will be 29. So
Okay. Okay.
I need to at least do 11 or 12 a year. So to hit that mark. So I feel pretty good about that. So
I think you'll do 13 next year. I think you'll
we'll
do
see.
13 at least. 14 stretch goal. That way you can make it easy on your 50th year. So yeah,
For
I think
sure. Yeah,
that's what's
definitely.
going to
Definitely.
happen. But thank you very much, Paul. Other than the races that you have planned, anything else you have planned as far as pacing or anything like that?
Yeah, and actually, it's funny you were saying that about pacing. I'm sad. It looks like I'm not going to be pacing as much this next year. I've got, of course, Houston. I'm pacing in January.
Hmm.
We're on the Alamo in San Antonio. I've paced that one 2 years in a row.
Okay.
That one's the same time as Tokyo, so I
Yeah,
had to turn that one down.
of course.
And so right now, I'm debating on pacing Poconos in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Again, that one will kind of be another redemption run. That's the one
Okay.
where I almost pooped myself. So pacing, but you know what? Nobody knew. Nobody knew at the time. Now
At
everybody
the
knows.
now
But
it's recorded now everybody will know.
I'm very humble, though. I've told many people that story, but
Yeah.
lesson learned: never eat greasy calzones the night before. So, but I'll be back mid-April, so that one's like around the first week of June. So,
Okay.
looking at that, and this like pretty much the last couple of years, I've been volunteering during the summers.
Yeah.
Last summer was Denali in Alaska. This summer was Volcanoes National Park. And
Okay.
since I'm going back, less than 3 months later to Volcanoes National Park,
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not going to be volunteering unless something crazy happens.
Okay.
I will be in Texas next summer.
Okay.
So with that, it's like I'll have a little bit more time to look at different marathons and things like that. But
All right.
definitely I want to do some more pacing. Pacing is something that I feel strong about. I
Mm-hmm.
was so excited to get into Houston pacing because I've been turned down several times on
Oh
that.
wow.
So to be picked for that, I'm very humbled, very honored, and very blessed. So, and they'll give me a free pair of Brooks by the
Size 12. Okay, size 12. Give them to me. No, I'm just
size
kidding.
12. Right, 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 right. Hey, if you
No.
wear a 13, I can get you some Atreyus. They have some 13s that they are stuck with.
Oh my God. Yeah. I might be at 13 in a trail, so maybe I
I'll
might have to
see.
take on you on that
I'll
one.
ask them. I'll ask them.
Awesome, awesome. But yeah, man, another thing I might keep you in mind for pacing because I want to kind of get into the pacing.
For sure, for
Um
sure.
and so that might be a cool thing to do. But
I
again,
love to.
Paul, I love the time we had, and good luck over there
Thank you.
in Hawaii. Go kick butt, go show them what Texas is all about, and we'll keep an eye on you and see if I was
Thank you.
right in you hitting at least 13, maybe 14 marathons. I think you can do it. So I'm
We
already
shall
throwing
see.
that peer pressure already, man. I'm already throwing
But
it.
I've already got Houston, Tokyo, Boston, Chicago. I've already got four in the books guaranteed. So there's a good probability. It's not even 2025 yet, and I've already got four scheduled. So there's a high probability. High probability. And
Confidence
peer
is high.
pressure.
Confidence is high. So yes.
If if you tell me to come run one with you, then the end
Oh,
result.
then then I'm gonna have to do that. Then I'm gonna find one that we can
I
run
got
together,
you.
and we're gonna do it for
Deal.
sure.
Deal. Got
All
you.
righty,
Got you.
Paul. Well, I appreciate it again. Thank you very much. You have yourself a good night, and we'll see you next time again, man.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, man.
Take care.
Bye bye.